Hello. I got my hat on, if you didn't notice, because I'm trying to get my drink here. I did a little hiking today. I'm at Hoffman Hills. It's so many beautiful trees, but it's hard to get a spot with the camera to hit it. So, you know, there's some oranges out there and yellows. But anyway, you can tell it's a beautiful woods in the fall. Lots of leaves all over the place. Here's some of my favorites I picked up. It's like the first one I saw. It's huge. It's as big as my face. Right? So that's pretty. A lot of yellows here. I like the yellows and orange. Those are pretty. Another yellow and orange. So a whole bunch of them. That's maybe the best one so far, huh? This was the most interesting. It was a little more vibrant when it was wet. It dried a little bit, but isn't that cool? It's red and yellow. You don't see too many of those. I don't anyway. And you know, it's a beautiful day to walk in the woods. I haven't been to Hoffman Hills in a while. I kind of stay away in the summer because I hear there's a lot of ticks. So it's a great place to hike right now. I used to come here in the winter to cross-country ski. Cross-country skiing enthusiasts know that this is a great place to ski. Though I think the more difficult slopes, which I was never great at, but I always think the best skill for a cross-country skier to have in challenging terrain is just to know how to fall. It's nice to know how to skate, ski, and herringbone and all that stuff, but if you know how to fall, that's pretty key. So I don't know that I'm going to be coming back here much to ski anymore. There's some really steep hills, and gosh, the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't really want to break a leg. So anyway, hey, I have to get going because it's getting kind of dark. It's just kind of funny because where I finally decided to do this is just about 50 yards from my car, but I walked way in, thought there might be a better spot somewhere, and you know, it was all right. But hey, let's do some parish news first, okay? So what is it, October 13th? So oh, hey, I think maybe I forgot to mention last week. So we are going to have maybe I mentioned it, but Ecumenical Thanksgiving prayer service with Good Shepherd Lutheran. It'll be at our place, and Pastor Josh will be the preacher. It'll be on Tuesday, I think 6:30 in the evening, that Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So we're excited about that. It's a bunch of good folks over there. I've been trying to get over on Thursday, first Thursdays of the month. It's a simple volunteer thing without a lot of thought, but a lot of goodwill and a lot of good people there to help. It's something called Ruby's Pantry. So that's something where a big semi-truck shows up with all kinds of food, and they need volunteers to help unload and set up. And then people come and they pay, I think, $20 for a share. And then they get a little of everything that's out there. And you can buy 2 shares for $40 and you get twice that. But it's a good service that the Good Shepherd Lutheran provides. And they always could use some volunteers to help organize that whole thing and get food in people's cars and all that kind of thing. So anyway, a couple things that going on with Good Shepherd and us that are neat. Christine says the coat drive is going well. Winter coats. We're collecting winter coats for the Chippewa Valley Street Ministry this month. And she says it's going well. She didn't exactly say don't bring any more, but I think it's going real well. And, you know, if we have more, I'm sure Sojourner House could take some, or other places. So I don't mean to discourage, but thank you. Basically, it's thank you for everybody that's brought some winter coats in. And remember, in November, we'll have a food drive, and in December, winter accessories like gloves and hats and things like that. Trunk or treat's coming up. Just another quick announcement to keep that in front of us. Some people are calling. You're going to do trunk or treat again. So it's a trick or treat for the children and families who want to come. It's in our big backyard, 4 to 6 p.m. on October 30th, Halloween Eve. I'll actually be going on during our Saturday Mass, which is fine. But just, you know, we have Saturday Mass at 4:30, and that'll be happening at the same time in the back. So maybe you want to come to Mass early and take a little walk around and see all the costumes and things. Next parish bike ride. So we'll see. We'll keep doing parish bike rides until we freeze our knuckles off, and people show up. It'll be on Halloween. It'll be on October 31st. And it'll be at 1:30 though, because the other thing that's happening on October 31st is our last October Mass on the grass. So we'll have Mass outside on the 31st at noon. We had a nice outdoor Mass on the 10th, just last Sunday at noon. You know, it's not as many as we had in the summer on the Saturday evenings, but it's, you know, we didn't expect that. But I think we had about 50. I think we had about 50 people show up for the outdoor Mass. So the next one, and there are some who really feel comfortable yet only coming to the outdoor Mass. We're happy to provide that service. Other people just like the feel and prefer it to the indoor Mass. So next one's Halloween. So a lot of great things happening Halloween. Come to the outdoor Mass and bring your bike. So right after Mass, we can go get some ice cream on our bikes, okay? Book club, did I bring it? I didn't bring it, it's in my car. Ugh. It's gonna show you because the cover is nice orange and yellow. It would have fit well with this background. So it's called God is Not Fair and Other Reasons for Gratitude by Daniel Horan, H-O-R-A-N. It'll be November 30th, Feast of St. Andrew. That's a Tuesday at 6:30. We'll have a discussion, but you don't have to be at the discussion, but you're welcome to. Be easier read than our last book, the Low-Fink book on Jesus parables. I think it's 130 pages. We'll try to do it. I think we can discuss it all in one night versus scheduling 2 nights. It'll be just into Advent. First Sunday of Advent is November 28th this year. Okay, so that's going along well. Italian dinner, a few people asked about that, so we'll make ticket buying opportunities available soon, if not already. Probably, I don't know if you can buy them yet. But November 4th, so coming up, less than a month away, much less than a month away now. November 4th, we'll have a takeout, I think, Italian homemade ravioli. So, you know, it's going to be good. So thanks Beth and Cernes and her friends for and family for chipping in for that. The Dachshund Annual Appeal is coming up. You might even, if the Postal Service is really quick, you may even have gotten your mailing from La Crosse. But every year, we support the mission of the wider church. We're not just St. James Church, we're St. James Catholic Church. And so Catholic Church in the Diocese of La Crosse, and they have their ministries and their people to pay and their buildings to maintain and all that. And so they rely on us to support them. I don't even like saying them, it's us, you know, they rely, people in the diocese rely on us. I guess it's them, they're different human beings than us, but we're all in this together, right? So I'll mention at Mass this weekend. Hopefully I'll remember to give a little fervorino to that, but our assessment is about $96,000, so that's a lot of money, and last year we didn't hit our target, and I don't know really what to do to help us. I don't want to like always bring it up and call people, did you pay to the annual appeal yet? I hope people just kind of understand that it's part of our responsibility as Catholics to support the wider church as well as our own parish. And the most important thing is to our weekly stewardship, and that's going well, I think. We have a finance council next week, so we'll see if there's been any real dips or, hey, look, we got a hiker. Hi, how's it going?
Hi, good, how are you?
Good, I'm doing good. So that's fun. And then, where was I here? Oh yeah, the giving and things like that. So that's, so I'll know something about the annual appeal coming up. There is going to be a Dachshund White. I was at the Fall Clergy Conference this week, and I don't want to scare people or whatever. I guess I shouldn't necessarily announce, but there in the coming year or two, there's going to be a capital campaign, Dachshund White. And we got a lot of information about it. It sounds like a good idea. It's always, you know, a hard thing with, you know, looking at our resources and how much we can share and how much, and to what causes and all. But this will be a thing coming up probably a year from now. I just, you know, obviously I'll keep you updated, but they're starting called a Central Wisconsin Catholic Foundation, and they want to start seeding that with some money and other things that just needed. You know, every so often there's just a need for a capital campaign in any institution. So anyway, that's just a heads up. More on that later. I just thought I'd mention it. maybe I got through the basic announcements. So school mass today was good. They really are very reverent. It's the first time our first graders planned the mass and were the readers. The first reading was from Romans, and that was a little complicated. And so for this time, they had Principal Mrs. Lutz do the first reading. But the children did the prayers of intercession. They did bringing up the gifts and all those kind of things. And they were pretty excited about it. So we're happy to see our first graders get into the liturgical planning action. And our new teacher there, Miss Johnson, has really got the spirit of that. All our teachers are really so 100% behind our mission of faith, faith formation of our youth. So I'm just really tickled, and I know Mrs. Lutz is too, that we have a very strong commitment to that. And then there's a lot of learning that goes on too when you do a school mass every week. And, you know, obviously there's the faith. You learn more about Scripture and Eucharist by actually doing it. But, you know, just kind of the humanistic things, like learning to be still. And sometimes the teachers have to get up. And there's one little first grader that just sort of got up and walked out. And the teacher was like, oh, what's he doing? You could see her get up. And then some other teacher came to the rescue so that teacher could go back to her. You know, obviously, you know, things come up. They're not, you know, angels. But really, overall, just extremely reverent. Anyway, the gospel today was about Jesus really laying into the Pharisees. Woe to you, you know, you pay your tithes on this and that, but you ignore the needs of people, and you lay heavy burdens on people, make them think they need to do all this stuff in order to be right with God, but you don't lift a finger to help them, you know. You can see Jesus is really, he's angry. And so I bring that up with the youth, and I'm just, you know, if I ask the right question, you know, all their hands go up, and it's a lot of fun. But today I was just like, anybody know what a Pharisee is? And, you know, what Isaiah actually knew, so that was good. He could they were the kind of the keepers of the law at Jesus' time, and fifth grader. But I was just, you know, what makes Jesus angry? And maybe I even asked it that directly, but I was trying to, they had some pretty good answers, but it was just kind of slow going, you know. Until I thought of this example, I said, you know, Jesus is really yelling at them. And I thought, you know, I don't know if your parents ever raise their voices to you. And sometimes maybe they lose their temper and that's not good. But sometimes maybe they really just are trying to make a point. And I said, for example, when my brother, I just hear this as family lore. I wasn't even around for it. But apparently my parents did a trip out to Yellowstone with my other siblings when I was a baby. And apparently Randy, who's never been one to stay within the prescribed boundaries, went wandering around, and there was this cliff or something, and I don't know if there was a fence but he walked right up to this edge of the cliff, and like it was like really close to it, and Mom saw him. She turned around and saw him like just on the precipice of oblivion. And like, Randy, get away from there! You know, just kind of yelled like that. And so then I asked the children, I go, Mom, really yelling. Probably in the short term, it really scared my brother. But, you know, why did she do that? And it's like, well, because she didn't want him to fall off the cliff. She didn't want him to, you know, get hurt. She didn't want to, so, you know, basically to help him, right? And sometimes, so that's like Jesus, when he gets angry at these guys, he wants them to change. It's like they're putting their hand on the hot stove and like, stop, don't do that, you know? Because it's not good for the people that the Pharisees are hurting and keeping from knowing. He gets mad because they get in the way of them receiving the love of God and receiving God's blessing. They're teaching a type of religiosity that you got to keep all these rules and then you'll be okay with God. But, you know, Jesus is like, you know, blessed are the poor in spirit. The kingdom of heaven is yours, you know. Blessed are those who thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the hungry, you know. But it's God loves you before you can do anything. And so he gets frustrated at the Pharisees. They seem to kind of get in the way of God loving people. So that's what makes them angry. So not only do they hurt the people by preventing them from receiving the love of God, but that's not a great way for them to be. And I'm sure some Pharisees were probably converted by Jesus. We don't hear too much about that, if at all. But mainly they're his enemies, right? The ones who kind of get in the way, who plot his demise. So anyway, Jesus' anger, his challenges to us, he doesn't do anything that's not loving, even if it seems stern. In this upcoming gospel on Sunday, he says, he really kind of lays into the people, they want the best seats in the kingdom of God, James and John. And he says, look, that's how people without God, the Gentiles, they're powerful ones, make their authority felt, and can't be like that with you. It can't be like, he's not really yelling at him. He's been really pretty stern with them, I think. It's because it's for their good, right? So tenderness is more fun than a loving challenge, but sometimes a loving challenge is what we need. So today's the 13th. That means on Friday is the feast of Teresa of Avila. And she's kind of a giant in the spiritual life. She lived in the 1500s in Spain. What was I going to say about her? She had just an easy, humble way about her. I was trying to read her autobiography for some pithy quotes or something. It's a little bit high language. It's accessible. If you ever want to read her autobiography, it'd be, I think, a good thing to do. Maybe we'll do that on book club in Lent or something like that. It's mostly about prayer life, about your relationship with God. She talks openly about the devil, but it's like never in scary terms. It's always like, she's thinking these kind of thoughts that she wants to get rid of, and it's kind of the devil in there, or this is happening, and it's like when she finally figures out that it's not God, it's like the devil. She just says, "Get away from me, devil," and she feels kind of free of it. I wish it were kind of always that easy. I know a lot of people are kind of tormented by they don't like the thoughts that always come into their mind. And it'd be nice if we could just dismiss them. But it is good, even if it doesn't bring instant relief, to say, God, I don't want to be thinking, I don't want to obsess about these thoughts every day, or I don't want to, have these kind of thoughts in my mind. And I'm sorry that they're there, and I wish they weren't there. And I hope you just know, God, that I love you, and I would rather have other thoughts and help ease my mind if it's your will. Otherwise, just help me cope with this. That's not an easy thing. If I think of anything more helpful to say about that in coming weeks, I'll be sure to share it. But not to identify and think, well, that's who we are, just because we're thinking bad thoughts, that we're just awful people, or we're no good, or how could God love us, and stuff that we can't control. It's like the Serenity Prayer. What you can control. What you can change. And what you can't, you have to kind of live with. And try to be faithful and not let that dominate your life. Do other good things. Think other good things. What else? One of her things with the devil, I think I've mentioned this in church a time or two, because it's a good story. So she was a reformer, and she wanted things be more strict. She was a Carmelite. I was going to bring a card of her that I picked up at Holy Hill. Holy Hill down toward Milwaukee, that's a Carmelite. Carmelites are in charge of that church. And so Teresa of Avila, Teresa of Lisieux, John of the Cross, they're all prominent saints that have statues there and things. And it was Teresa of Avila's 500th anniversary of her birth, I think, when I was there 10 years ago. So I got a little card commemorating that. Anyway, she was a reformer, and she formed a group that's called the Discalced Carmelites. And the Discalced Carmelites means without shoes, so it's a little bit stricter than the kind of regular Carmelites. And she just thought they were getting used to their big houses and comfortable living, and she thought it was time for a more strict observance. But then, she wasn't sure if she was right or not. She was pretty confident because she prayed an awful lot. And one day, she saw a vision of Christ to her and saying, Teresa, you know, I love you. You're a great servant of mine, but you don't have to be so strict. Just ease up a little bit on this. And she kind of looked him over. It's kind of apparition, right? She kind of looked him over and said, get away, devil. And we're like, well, how'd she know it was the devil, or was it the devil? But as soon as she said, get away, devil, the apparition disappeared. And she told that story to someone, and they said, well, how'd you know it was the devil? And she said, he didn't have any wounds. The risen Christ has wounds. His hands, his side, his feet. We carry our wounds. And the risen Christ carries his wounds. St. Francis, I mentioned him last week because his feast was October 4th. I don't know how true it is. A lot of St. Francis is kind of legendary things because, you know, he died in 1226. I think I said last week he's about 35. I think he was born around 1180 and died in 1226. That'd make him like 46 when he died. But, you know, he was a very holy guy because he just wanted to he wanted to give his life to the crucified Christ, to be with the suffering, to be with the poor. Just let nothing separate me from Christ. But he was doubting too. In this movie, Francesco, that's why I say I'm not how sure it is, but he wanted he wanted all people that would follow him not to own anything, not to own a house, and to subsist by asking other people for money, to have that dependence on the love and generosity of others as a way of both outer and inner poverty, total reliance on grace of people and of God. And well, those who followed him after a while said, no, we gotta have a house, we gotta educate, we gotta have schools, we gotta have a roof, we gotta have property, we gotta have this, we gotta have that, and he's like, no, you know, in the movie, and it was very moving. He held up like a quad of dirt. He goes, all I know is this, you know, this is what we are. We're made of the dust of the earth, and we're totally dependent on God. We don't have to own anything or have anything. So he goes off by himself into the woods like this. No nice trail here, but I mean, there's a nice trail here. There's no nice trail like there is here. But he went into the woods, and he was just kind of self-doubt in the movie anyway. It's like, I don't know, you know, am I right? I'm telling them they can't own anything. Has my life been true to you, God? Have I really been following you? You haven't spoken to me since 20 years ago when you told me to rebuild your church. And I don't know if I'm still on the right path. And, you know, he's cried himself to sleep. And then he woke up, and he had a pain in his hands. He had pain in his side. He had pain in his feet, like real sharp pain. And he looked at his hands, and there was a wound and blood coming out of his hand, blood coming out of his side, blood coming out of his feet. He received what we call the stigmata, the wounds of Christ. And it was painful, but he couldn't have been happier. Once he recognized what he did, he saw it as a sign from heaven that he didn't have it all wrong, that God honored how closely he tried to follow God's will. And in the, I don't know, I'll probably get the Latin wrong or the Italian, he goes, Deus mihi dicit, Deus mihi dicit, Deus mihi dicit. God spoke to me, God spoke to me. You know, his tears down his eyes and tears of joy, you know. And he's a saint, and that hadn't happened to him for years. You know the story of Mother Teresa, you know, that she didn't feel like God spoke to her for like the last 60 years of her life. She was just being faithful, doing what the gospel commanded, caring for the poor. But she was not getting warm cuddlies from God. She had no idea if it was really what God wanted for sure. And so those saints, they're good for us to hear about those things. I think especially in our culture, we like, you know, we like to feel good. We like our faith to make us feel good. And gosh, it doesn't always. Sometimes it'll just bring us, you know, wounds, and not the kind of fancy wounds like the wounds of Christ, but sadness or grief or discouragement or uncertain if we're on the right path. I don't have the prayer here, but Thomas Merton wrote a beautiful prayer. He was a monk, not a Carmelite, but a Trappist, Cistercian monk. And he wrote this short prayer. It was really beautiful. I paraphrase it, but he said, you know, God, all I really want to do is please you and do your will. But I don't always know if I'm doing your will. I hope I am. I pray I am, but I don't know for certain. But I think that the fact that I want to please you and do your will does in fact please you. And I take comfort in that. Isn't that a nice prayer as we hear the wind? Blow through the trees here at Hoffman Hills. Let's just focus our hearts on the fact that God made us, that he gave us a desire to please him, who loves us beyond all measure. It's just returning love for love. Sometimes that love can be challenging, but it's always love. It's always love. It's always trying to call us to our best selves, our true home. So God bless everybody on this October day. Pretty soon these leaves will all be off the trees. I'll just kind of let you look at that for a couple of seconds here. May the blessing of God descend upon us and remain on us forever. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. See ya.